As you design digital offerings, which is at the core of how you'll drive value in a digital world, our finding is that you can come at this from two angles. One is you can say, all right, we have a nice product or a nice service, but we have to wrap it with much more information so it's a much more valuable proposition for our customer. What you'll find as you do that is that you'll have to convince your customer that they want this value. This is what companies like Schneider Electric and Kaiser Permanente find as they say, instead of what you're accustomed to receiving from us, we're going to give you more. Not every customer is ready for that. So then you find these companies that had great product solution ideas are forced to spend more time on the customer side. The alternative approach is to do what a USAA does, what a Principal Financial does, and say, let's sit down with our customers and let's be as tightly connected to them as we can, recognizing there's all kinds of new digital capabilities, and that will lead us to new value propositions. So USAA, several years ago, started moving into things like integrated solutions around buying, insuring, and financing an automobile. So these integrated solutions grew out of a closer customer engagement. Our sense is you can come at the digital economy from either end, from the customer side or from the product side. In any case, to get good at digital offerings, you will find yourself forced to the other side, and that's a very healthy thing. Within IT departments, shadow IT for a long time had a bad name because basically what it meant is that all of the efforts of the IT unit to create underlying infrastructure and some shared capabilities were being ignored. And so everybody in the business was doing their thing, and sooner or later they were going to knock on IT's door and say, oh, we're getting too much demand. The thing we did doesn't work anymore. Will you take care of it? Will you fix it? Which is the worst possible way to develop enterprise capabilities. And it always put IT units in a very bad position. So some companies started getting the message and saying, no, we're getting rid of shadow IT, which a few years ago was a really good idea. Now we're finding that more and more capabilities in IT can be created as components. And that if you have an understanding of what it means to have a component and reuse a component, shadow IT can actually help you innovate faster. You learn what the components are, you take advantage of them, and you kind of customize around the edges. It's a really nice way to think about how you'll innovate quickly going forward. It is not as easy as it sounds. It could easily result in chaos, but it has given a new luster, if you will, to shadow IT, because although we tend not to use the term, we do think local IT efforts can yield huge benefits to organizations that get that formula right. I mostly work with big old companies. I like to call them successful companies because otherwise they wouldn't be big or old. And the thing we've learned is that there is an awareness that there are some things going on in these digital startups that are important to understand and to some extent replicate. But truth be told, the big startups, the Googles, the Amazons, the Facebooks, are the exception. Most digital startups will sell themselves in order to survive. And that's because they don't know how to build an underlying backbone that allows them to scale, that gives them efficiencies, that ensures they can complete transactions even as they get bigger. So this is the advantage that the established company has because it solved that problem. Now, what we want to do is, while we're basking in the glory of having this underlying backbone, we want to make sure that we can experiment, try things, keep the digital products we develop constantly updated, like the digital companies do. So while we are enjoying that backbone and taking advantage of it, we do need a part of our organization whose job it is to constantly innovate. Now, constant innovation in the digital economy is a very different way of thinking for established companies. We like to encourage thinking about their living assets. So, for example, the ability to reflect something on an Apple iPhone that before we either did in person or only online. That becomes a living asset. We learn how to make that translation, and then we use it over and over and over again. We do this with bigger services too. We might need a dashboard to tell our customer how they're doing with all of their energy management tools, or to tell a patient where they have some indicators of potential issues. So dashboards might become really important to our company, and we create the capability, the business component, to issue dashboards. But of course, we need to improve them all the time. Just the way the Apple iPhone is constantly improving its various apps and things like that. So we call these living assets. We give birth, and then we just keep growing and growing and growing that capability. We expect it of digital companies. For old companies that want to succeed in a digital economy, there will be that same kind of expectation. We can kind of daily innovate so that what we have becomes better, more innovative, more valuable to our customer.